Now, on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app. O'Connor and Company.
8:07 here on your favorite radio station in the nation's capital. We're doing a post-mortem on yesterday's elections in Virginia and New Jersey and in New York City. We haven't really talked about California because, at this point, Julie Gunlock.
Who cares?
Really, honestly.
Seriously.
Let's get into it. Now, that's Julie Gunlock. I'm Larry O'Connor, and joining us right now is Mark Halperin. He's the editor-in-chief of the Two-Way Platform, which includes the morning meeting with our pal Sean Spicer, as well as Two-Way Tonight and a host of other programs. Plus, he's got his own podcast, and Next Up on the Megyn Kelly Network. Mr. Halperin, good morning. Thanks for joining us. Late night last night.
Larry, it's been a while. Good to see you. And Julie, good morning to everybody. Thank you, Larry, for being on our coverage last night. Grateful to have you.
Well, I'll be honest, it was the New York Post that brought me in, Mark, more than...
That's fine. They were our partners last night, and I got to host the show from the August newsroom on 6th Avenue, and it's an honor to be associated with them, and if they're the magnet that brings you in, Larry, all good.
I kid, as you know, but it was kind of cool. We got a sneak preview of today's front page of the New York Post, which we always find amusing. Post had been relentlessly critical of Zoran Mamdani and the specter of him becoming mayor. True to form, they had a Karl Marx reference. What's the mood like this morning after your town just elected a bona fide socialist?
It's really torn apart. I was so surprised by how ungracious Mamdani was in his speech. Angry and optimistic at points, but I've never seen a speech quite like that. Really bitter towards President Trump, bitter towards Cuomo, and picking a fight with the president. He's 34, and if his job is going to be mayor of the largest city in America, plus constant combatant with the president, it's going to be more challenging. But maybe he thinks there's something to that. In terms of the mood of the city, I have friends and professional colleagues who are sky high psyched. And I have friends and professional colleagues who are either planning to move or are really upset, particularly based on his views of Israel. And I don't know if that's bridgeable, but this is the kind of inspiration of emotion Donald Trump has inspired in the last 10 years, and I don't think anybody else really has.
Not to be that guy, Julie Gunlock, but last night, a couple of hours into the coverage, Mark asked his panel, what do you think the tone will be for Zoran Mamdani's speech? And I said, well, I think it'll be very energetic and triumphant, and it'll be best translated in the original 1917 Russian. And I wasn't too far off, Mark.
No, I mean he sounded at times like just an angry guy on what was the biggest triumphal day of his career.
Yeah, but I found it kind of funny last night. Van Jones was just shocked that Mamdani suddenly sounds, like an angry communist. And on the CNN panel last night, I think that's sort of how they operate here. But that doesn't really make New Yorkers feel better, and particularly Jewish residents of New York. Do you think he'll temper that tone? Was that just energy last night, or, I mean, he cites Nehru, for goodness sake, and other communists and socialists. I mean, is this sort of the tone he's going to govern with, or again, was it just an energetic win last night?
Yeah. It's a great question, Julie. I've learned from several sources that he plans to make his first deputy mayor pick today. It will be Nick Fuentes, coalition government. Unity around criticizing Jews.
Yep.
Look, he has reached out. He did reach out after he became the Democratic nominee. Yesterday, Bill Ackman, the billionaire New York resident, at least for now, who's been as vocal a critic publicly on X and elsewhere of Mamdani as anyone, reached out and said, "Let me help." I suspect he will have some sort of reaching out, but his fundamental orientation is to fundamentally remake the city on economics and policing, etc. So I don't know. I hope for the best, and I was disappointed yesterday to see some people say they don't like the guy so much against his policies, against his view of Israel and Jews, that they hope he fails. And I think that's just, to me, that just like when the president gets elected, you say, he's the president of everybody, hope he succeeds. I hope the guy succeeds. But there's lots of questions on experience and attitude and policy, and we'll see. But he does have a propensity to reach out. We had a close friend of his on last night on our coverage, and he said, this guy's not a hater. He's going to reach out, and I hope he does.
Zooming out, Mark Halperin, to the nation and what happened not every state was voting yesterday, but it's often seen as some level of a bellwether on the president's performance in his first year and then looking forward to the midterms. Are Republicans in trouble in 2028? Are you seeing this as a signal that they need to make some kind of pivot? And is this a referendum on Trump?
Yeah, I mean, I'm always a big fan of reading, but not overreading. And I think the biggest challenge for the Republicans off of last night are twofold. One is fundraising. Yes, their candidates weren't as good as the Democratic candidates in a lot of places, but like in California, if you can't match the other side dollar for dollar, if you're the incumbent party, that's going to be a problem if that prevails in the midterms. But the other bigger challenge, I think, is demographic and geographic. President Trump looked like he was beginning a realignment for the Republicans on younger voters, non-white voters, and in the suburbs. And in Virginia and New Jersey, two diverse states with, lots of important counties that are like petri dishes for these things, Republicans were wiped out yesterday, demographically and geographically. And I think it means that whether it's Trump's not on the ballot or whether people are unhappy with the national economy, whatever it is, if Republicans are wiped out like that demographically in the suburb, young people, female voters, they were just killed with young women yesterday. I mean, they're just staggering numbers. If they're wiped out like that in the midterms in comparable states, and Virginia and New Jersey are, very basic, industrial states with a lot of rural areas, diverse, et cetera. If they're wiped out in the suburbs, if they're wiped out with the same demographics as they were last night, they'll lose the House. And so it doesn't mean inexorably they're going to have a bad midterm, but it doesn't portend positivity for Trump's party or Trump's candidates next year.
Well, one difference in the midterms, unlike this election, is that Trump will be engaged much more. He'll do rallies. He'll actually be out there, and that might make a difference. Quickly, Mark Halperin, in our final minute, we were just talking about this meeting that's going to take place in about 15 minutes at the White House with all the Republican senators and President Trump over the shutdown. Do you think that the dam will break now that the election is over? We're getting indications that the shutdown will come to an end, and it turns out it was, a political tactic.
Yeah. Well, look, it may come to an end, but I don't know that the Democrats are going to be in a compromising mood after last night. I think they're going to say, why should we give in? We've got momentum now. So to the extent that the solution involves, which it appeared to, Democrats basically caving in with a fig leaf the size of the Washington Monument, I'm not sure this helps. But it may be, because the air traffic issues in particular, it may be that we will get a solution. But I'll be super curious to see what the president says for sure.
All right. Mark Halperin, thanks for joining us. You got to do your show prep now for morning meeting that starts at 9 o'clock on the two-way.
Show prep. Yeah. I do show prep like Julie. I just flip through catalogs.
How did you know?
Do you have a camera in our studio? That's uncanny.
We're the only two people in America who still get and keep catalogs.
Hold on. You know what? Spicer's been telling. It's Spicer. He's the mole. He's been on the show before. Thanks, Mark.
Great to talk to you both.
Mark.
Thank you.